Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Mark Mosey Show podcast, as we're always broadcasting from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today. This is key. 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. It's Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. I was on vacation, or as the Brits call it, holiday last week. I will just clarify this before I get to Garrett. I did not get into a bar fight. No, I was at the dermatologist. We had to get some little procedure done to get rid of the sunspots. That's my official statement. So now we'll bring on Garrett. Garrett Gordon, my man, to talk NBA draft. Garrett, how you doing today?
You should have just went with the bar thing. You should have just been like, so I was on vacation. This guy was talking smack, and I had to let him know. You should see the other guy.
Yeah, here's the thing. To get into a bar fight, I have to still go to bars after a while. This is the problem. Okay? When I was in my 20s, sure. Now, not so much. I'm sorry to say that.
There's like a thing that happens, right? When you start getting old, like us, like it's like you hit a certain time of day and you're like, maybe I'm just going to sleep.
Exactly what it is.
Just going to go to sleep.
All right. I want to say this about Garrett. Garrett is a longtime broadcast professional, covered sports for a long time. He now teaches the youth of tomorrow about broadcast journalism there in the
That's kind of scary, right? It's terrifying.
In the greater Kansas City area. He does a great job. You love basketball, all levels, high school, college, NBA, just like me. And with the NBA draft on Thursday, I said there's only one guy who's kicking his microphone. I see. There's only one man to talk draft with from the player perspective is my guy Garrett. So Garrett, we'll start with this. Are you excited for this loaded draft on Thursday?
This will be the best draft since I've been old enough to like think about things as like how good of a draft this is. I think there's probably some pretty good ones when I was much younger, but in my era, this is the most loaded draft. We're going to go probably about 20 picks deep of guys that are legitimate starters. And there's some guys in the second round that have potential. Now, we never know if they're going to reach potential, obviously, but have potential to be the best kind of starting type prospect we've seen since maybe even Jokic. That's how good this draft can be.
Okay, off the top of my head, greatest drafts, 84, Akeem Olajuwon, Jordan, Barkley. You could keep going. 96.
96 is the one that I always think about. It was so loaded.
Yes, you had Iverson.
Ray
Kobe,
Allen, I think, was in that draft.
Steve Nash is in that draft.
Yeah.
It's loaded with picks.
And then we also obviously have the LeBron, Melo, Wade, Bosh. Like, there's been really good drafts in the past. But I think what makes this one unique is that not only do you have the top end guys, the guys who, when we look at their potential, go, maybe this is generational. We also have the depth. Like, there are guys that are going to go late lottery that in most other drafts would be towards the top. Someone like Darius Acuff is being projected anywhere between like 6 and 9. That's a top pick in what? 4 out of 5 drafts? It's insane.
What's interesting with the draft of the last 6 or 7 years, the number one pick, 95% of the time now have been hits. The only one that hasn't been a hit was that Atlanta pick. In hindsight,
and that was a weak draft. I mean, I think people going into it kind of thought it was a little bit of a weak draft.
Yeah, because you think of Paolo Banchero and Cade Cunningham, Victor Wembanyama. There have been a lot of hits at number one. So if we just look at this, we'll start here. Washington has the number one pick. Is it AJ at number one? Is that completely locked in? Do you feel like he's the best player in this loaded draft?
I felt like that pretty much this entire process, and I probably would still lean there. There's just weirdness around Peterson, right? I mean, his camp, they shut down workouts, right, outside of the number one pick. I don't know if that is all smoke screen. Really, it could be. But everything I've read is no one's concerned about his medicals. It seems like the issue that was plaguing him in college, no one's concerned about that. I know there's some concerns about his mentality and things like that, but talent-wise, he's just as good as Dybantsa, if not better. He just has some question marks that Dybantsa doesn't have. If you're the Wizards and you have this number one pick, do you take the guy that you feel more confident in, or do you take the guy that probably has the higher ceiling? And for most of this process, I thought Dybantsa's the guy. I would say within the last 2 weeks, I've started thinking there's a chance it is Peterson.
I think it's Dybantsa with the first pick. There's no question marks. Look, I know what's crazy about him is, remember, he goes to BYU, gets the gigantic payday, and God bless him hey, good for you, buddy. He wanted to stay there in Salt Lake. He wants to play for the Jazz. And it was funny when they were at the draft lottery, he was disappointed when Washington got the number one pick. I still think I think you take him. I love that Trae Young declined the offer. I'd say, all right, goodbye. I would have AJ. I would build around him. I think he's the number one pick. Do you feel like that is going to be the number one pick?
Like I said, I would still lean that way. I still think most of what we've seen is that Dybantsa is the guy. It's so weird when guys kind of shut down their workouts, and a lot of times it is smokescreen, but it is still strange to basically say, I'm only working out for the number one team when you're not projected by most places at this moment to go number one. I think that's weird.
All right. What do you like about AJ's game?
Versatility, really. I mean, this is a guy who's got an NBA body, NBA size, but he can probably guard 1 through 4. And I guess if a small ball, he can go 1 through 5 guarding. And that is just such a rarity. His playmaking needs to get better, but everything else, the rebounding's there, the defense is there, he's got a good shot. Everything you would want to see is there outside of some of the playmaking stuff. And I think we saw enough at BYU that it will come. It's just not there yet. But I think it gets there eventually, and I think we are looking at a really elite player. For it to go wrong for him, it would probably just be something like he never quite reaches his ceiling as a playmaker, and that's still a very, very good player.
All right, you said at the top, this is a loaded draft.
Yeah.
What is your timetable if you're Washington where it's like, okay, we need to show signs that you're becoming a superstar? Do you give them a year? Like by year 2, do you have to see it?
I always say 2 to 3 years. The first year, some people come in and hit right away, and we're seeing that more often now, but I don't think it's like a guarantee. And he is going to be on what could be a dysfunctional team. When you look at what Washington's done, I think they got Young and Davis in kind of hopes of flipping them, right? I don't think they were thinking of keeping either of them long term, but if they can't re-sign Young to flip him, they pretty much just got him for no reason, right? Like he doesn't play for him and leaves. And then I'm still not sure who's going to take Davis's contract.
I don't know.
So if they try to sign Young with the thoughts of I'm going to flip him later, you still would have Young on the team and Davis on the team, 2 guys that are looking to get theirs, right? They want to get one more payday. I think that would hurt Dybantsa's growth. So I'm curious how that plays out. So I'd at least give him this year before I start going what's going on. I think year 2 or 3 would be where I'd be aiming at, especially for their window. They've got a young team outside of those 2. I think they're kind of on that path. We'll see if they kind of continue to get there.
Okay, you look at Cade Cunningham. I saw him play his rookie year, and you think of the growth of that guy from year 1, 2 to now, where he is now an MVP type player. It takes time to build these guys. It really does. Even Victor Wembanyama. Okay, he had a big income. What did they win? 20 games his first year? They didn't
always takes time. And like, if you look at Cade and Dybantsa, they're different players, but the part of Cade's game that took a little time was that playmaking element. We always knew it was there. Like if you watched him as a rookie, the passing was there, the court vision was there. It was the decision making that just takes some time because he had to learn when to get his and when to let others get theirs. And I think that's such a tough balance. And when you're the number one pick, I'm assuming Washington wants the ball in his hands. It's going to take him some time to learn how to distribute and when to go for his. And I think it takes longer if Young and Davis are there wanting their touches.
I love your answer. It's going to take time. You can't, these guys are 19.
Yeah.
It will take, I mean, even Paulo Banchero, okay, even game one, you saw an impact, but look, you got to go through the motions of playing 82 games and going through it. So, all right, then go back to Darryn Peterson. What do you like about his game then, Garrett?
Oddly enough, he could be the quickest to take off because the one thing he does translates immediately. He's a shot maker and he can get his shot off under pressure. He can make shots from a variety of different angles. When he played, and this is obviously a question mark, when he played at Kansas, he was the best player in college. He was better than Dybantsa. He was, simply put, when he wanted to score, he pretty much did. And it was very difficult to stop him from scoring. He also showed really good ball handling. He showed above average playmaking, and he played defense. It was such a weird year at Kansas, right? Everything that surrounded him, the decision not to play a lot of times, the fact that the NBA's looked at it and has no questions about the injury almost makes it feel like he just decided he didn't want to play. Cramps are weird, though, so I don't know how you can really totally judge that. I think if you're an NBA team at the top of the draft, it would make me nervous, but that ceiling is so tantalizing. I think he probably still does go number 2.
All right, so you're taking him at 2. There's no way, right, he's dropping to 4 or 5, right? It can't happen.
I wouldn't say no way, right? How much have we seen in the last few years teams starting to emphasize culture and emphasizing how players interact? And do we want to bring that type of player into our environment? I think the one thing that could hurt him and would be the only case he could fall is that this draft is so good. If you are the Jazz and you take a Boozer at 2 or Wilson at 2, those guys are guys that would go number 1 in most drafts. So I don't think there's as big a risk on missing on Peterson as normal. But if Peterson hits in the way he could hit, you're still going to feel really dumb if you don't take him.
All right, let's go to Cameron Boozer. And I officially feel old because I watched Carlos Boozer on the Bulls and multiple teams.
I mean, I think we watched him on Duke.
Yeah, you're right. Great point. I have mixed feelings. Like I think there's question marks with Boozer in his game. What do you think of him?
I worry about the athleticism. He's not going to wow you as an athlete. But I think recently we've seen that's not quite as important as we used to think it was. You take a look at Jokic or Doncic, and we've seen guys who play at a different pace, understand spacing and tempo, and they have really good careers. And could Boozer replicate something like that? There's a possibility, right? He's a good passer. He's underrated as a shot maker. He is very solid on defense. He can wall up. He can get rebounds. But I do think even with those comparisons, that lack of athleticism caps your ceiling. I think like if you don't have that next level athlete, there is a level that's harder for you to reach to. And I think more things have to go right for him to hit where he needs to get to.
Isn't that just like his dad's game? The same
a little
thing?
bit. I think he's a better shooter than his dad ever was, which is definitely going to help him. And I'm not really sure he's as good as an athlete as his dad would. I actually think Boozer Sr., like his game was a little bit underrated as far as athleticism goes.
All right, here's how I look at it when you're building a team. Would Boozer be a 1, 2, or 3 option in your offense? I see him as a 2.
And see, that's kind of what I do too, because I think he's more of a creator ultimately than he is like the main scorer. Could he develop differently? The talent's there for sure. When I watched him at Duke, I never got the sense I was watching like the best player in the draft. And that's what he got. He kind of got pitched to us as that for like a lot of the year. And I never felt like that's what I was watching.
All right. It makes me think of Karl Anthony Towns. He
A
was
little bit.
He was the number one pick. And what I'm saying is Towns is a giant. He's 7 feet, right? Boozer's not that big.
And he just kind of proved himself, right? He helped the ring.
He did, but it's not like with Karl Anthony Towns, it's not like he steps on the court and like, oh God, it's not like how you feel with Wemby, right? But he makes a big impact. See,
I think he's going to be a better defender and rebounder than Cat is, although Cat's turned into a pretty good rebounder. I think he's going to be better at those two things. I think the one really thing that works really well between those two is like the shooting and playmaking. I think there is some semblance of that in Boozer's game that does reflect on Cat.
I think at number 2, Utah has a chance where they might take Boozer because I know the dad has ties to the team.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a little wild of a pick where just because of, I think he's a great prospect, but of all those players that are behind him who could be more of a superstar potential, I think that's where it could get wild.
I think it gets wild if they don't take him there because I don't think the Grizzlies take Peterson because he does not fit what their build is right now. Like the Grizzlies want someone to go next to Zach Edey, right? And they've got a bunch of young guards that I think they're interested in, kind of want to look at. So I don't actually think they want Peterson to be the guy that's sitting there because I wouldn't be shocked if they made the choice to move up Caleb Wilson if Peterson slipped.
So it's interesting. It feel in my eyes, it feels like it's a lock at number 1, and then the draft starts at number 2, where we don't know what Utah is going to do, and then the domino effects will happen after that.
I still think they have to go Peterson. I mean, I know that there's so many questions. It's just that even as good as I think Boozer is, and I think Wilson is, and I think a lot of those guys in that lottery are, none of them have the ceiling of Peterson.
Hey, yeah. So if you're a season ticket holder for Utah, hey, who did we get last year from Rutgers? What's the guy's Bailey or what's his name?
Ace Bailey.
So you have Ace Bailey and you have
he was kind of okay. I didn't love Ace Bailey's game this year.
But if you have Bailey with Peterson, at least there'll be something exciting. Hey, let's see what this is.
Utah's got more talent than kind of they showed. They were pretty much tanking. There's guys that can play on that team. And I think Peterson unlocks some things for them as a scorer. I guess some of it does come down to, do they think they're re-signing Kessler? Because, right, they offered him that contract and he turned it down. Now he's restricted, but could someone come over the top and pay him more than he's worth? What are they going to do with Markkanen? I don't know how much they need another big body in there. And so maybe that could be what they're thinking is like, we don't really need a big body like Boozer, so we're going to take Peterson.
All right, here's my thing. You got to take a step back, breathe, and go, we have been trash for a long time. Since the last time they were good is when they had Donovan Mitchell. But they didn't win with him either, and they traded him. So you have to figure out, look, what do we want to do? Because this is, like you said, we were tanking. We have not been good. All right, what's the future of this franchise? What do we want to do with that pick?
I do think they could have been a play-in team last year if they didn't just try to lose. And so I think, to me, that's what makes some of this hard. Because I think we had so many teams trying to lose last year that it's hard to really know what the actual talent level is of some of these teams because they weren't even playing their best players. They were playing just random guys that they were signing to 10-day contracts. And there would be games when like the right Utah lineup would play and they would be right there with some of the better teams in the league. And it did make me think that this team is better than being as poor as their record was.
All right, I will back up your statement you just made because the Washington Wizards allowed the Miami Heat for a star player to score 82 points in a regular season. 82 points by Bam Adebayo. Unbelievable. All right, let's get to the interesting pick. Caleb Wilson. Explain it. UNC didn't play in the tournament, and then his coach got fired. What do you think of this guy as a prospect?
Before he got hurt,
Mm.
UNC beat Duke. UNC was one of probably the top 15 teams in the country when Caleb was playing. And I think, to me, how they performed when he got hurt says a lot. Because if you're only kind of good, then if they lost you, it shouldn't have affected them that much. But when they lost him, they looked lost on offense, and they didn't seem to have a hub or really an answer where to go to. And Wilson's one of these guys who was highly rated as a high schooler, but his stock really rose in college because he did more things than people thought he could do. I think the shot was better than people thought. I think the ball handling and playmaking was better than people thought. I think there's a lot of when Caleb Wilson comes in, I think some people viewed him more as possibly a little bit of a project, a superb athlete, a guy who can defend, and maybe the offense comes along a little later. And the offense was there right away. And if we take a guy that's an elite athlete that we know can play defense, and we know there's some rebounding chops there, and we add in an offensive skill set we didn't know was there, he becomes the most intriguing prospect in the draft.
It's interesting. Him and Peterson, it's like, it's so weird what happened to them in college. Would have been better if they never played college ball for the year and they would have just been a higher pick.
Well, Peterson basically, the way his stock worked, it happened like that because he didn't play a ton and his stock is still where it was, maybe a slight slip from one. Wilson needed college because the way people viewed him as a prospect is not how they view him now. Because I don't believe anyone thought his offensive game was as progressed as it is. And when they saw him in college doing things they didn't think he was capable of doing yet, it changed the way we view Caleb Wilson. And now he's seen as the likely number 4 pick in this draft.
I still like Acuff. I'm sorry. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm sorry. Tell me about Darius Acuff Jr. and what you like about his game.
He's amazing. I am a huge Acuff fan. I think the one thing you worry about is it's not that he was bad on defense, but he wasn't elite on defense. And point guard is a position where I just want really good defense because there's so many good point guards in the NBA right now. If I can't count on you to lock down the opposition, then I'm just hoping you outscore them and outplay make them. And that's tough. To have to do that on a night-to-night basis would be tough. But I love Acuff's offensive game. He's a great playmaker, a true point guard. He has a great shot. I view him as being very slept on in this draft. And for some reason, I feel like I've seen more and more mock drafts knocking him down the order. And, I mean, I think I read something where he could go as low as 9. And that is just crazy to me. To me, he's easily in the top 5 of this draft. But the NBA doesn't seem to see it that way.
It's fascinating. So his coach has coached so many NBA prospects who've made the NBA and become like Karl-Anthony Towns is one, Derrick Rose. And he's hyping this guy, Calipari. He's like, look, this guy is the real deal. Then he's dropping 30 points in the tournament. He was not injured like some of these other guys.
Yep.
There's no questions. If I'm the Bulls, I'm telling Josh Giddey goodbye, and I'm building around Acuff, and I'm going to build a new team if I'm the Bulls. That's what I would do. That's my pick.
I don't know. I think Wilson I think could be the best player in this class if he hits. And I think it's scary for Bulls fans because he's kind of this wing type player that they've missed on so many times in recent years. And I think there's this hesitation because it's like, what if we draft another 6'8", 6'9" guy that just plays defense and doesn't score and we're tired of that. And I get that, but I think he's better than those guys. I think he's a better prospect than all the guys they've drafted there. And I would probably lean Wilson. But I think Acuff is fantastic. I would not turn down Acuff it would put them in an interesting position with Giddey because I don't think he can play anywhere else. I don't think he does enough scoring wise or even defensively to be like a 3. I think he needs to be a 1.
And are you really winning with Josh Giddey? Nothing against, he's probably a nice guy. Are you winning with Josh Giddey as your guard?
I think there's potential there. I do, because I don't think you have to have a point guard that scores a ton. And I do think he is a really good playmaker. I don't think he's the one holding him back. I think there's a lot of other issues that they need to solve. I think their most pressing issue is getting someone that can score. They traded away everyone on that team that could score. And so at the moment, they don't have anyone that can score. And Caleb, I think, could solve some of their scoring issues. And, you're obviously hoping from Buzelis to make another jump. There's guys on that team that could get better and make jumps. I probably lean Wilson. If you go Acuff, I do think you probably need to ship out Giddey.
All right, here's the thing. Let's say they take Wilson at 4. I'm looking at this. So you have the Clippers 5, Brooklyn 6, or Sacramento. One of them is taking Acuff, right? That he's not falling.
No, he's not falling. I would think all 3 of them could take him, but it seems like the Clippers should. I don't know what would be stopping them from taking him other than just liking one of the other guards better, because there's a lot of really good guards. Like, this is a really guard-heavy draft. Fleming's is good. Wagler's good. Barry's is good. Acuff is good. I think you probably at this point in the draft are about to see a whole lot of guards go in a row. And if you need like legitimate big person help and you're in this range, your best bet is to probably trade down, because the strength of this class is not the middle of the first round bigs.
All right. You said a bunch of names right there, a bunch of guards. As we wrap this up, okay, because I appreciate you coming on to give me the big. Those are the big names you went over.
Yeah,
the casual fan, they're going to hear those names over and over again. Are there guys you did not? Is there any guy or 2 guys there in this draft where you're like, oh yeah, I love this guy, you got to take him?
All right, so I said when I came in that this is a deep draft, and the reason I love this draft is not just the top end. I think you're going to get guys that are being undervalued later in this draft. Someone like Koa Pete, who came into Arizona with a lot of hype. There's some questions about his offensive game for sure. His jump shot maybe needs to be fixed, almost wholly remade. I know that's scary, but this is an elite athlete, a guy who's shown some playmaking skills and can guard 1 through 5. I don't know how that's falling into the late 20s. That's how deep this draft is. You could get that guy could come in right now and start for almost any of those contenders just because of how good he is at defense and how good of an athlete he is. That's one. Another guy I love, Justin Jefferson from Iowa State, is a kind of a do-it-all forward, can do a little bit of everything. And he got hurt in the tournament, and we watched how Iowa State went from the 2 seed and a favorite to a team that couldn't win without him, really. And those type of guys are valuable. He's getting second-round projections right now. A guy like Braden Smith at Purdue, who put up crazy stats. The athleticism and size are a little concerning. But if I'm looking in the second round and I see a guy with those kind of accolades, I'm like, why is he in the second round? Remember some of the great, like Jalen Brunson. We just watched a smaller guard. Now, I don't think he's Jalen Brunson. That's a little far. But what I'm saying is like a smaller guard with a history of performing on a high level at college going in the second round. I think that's a little crazy. And the last name is the kid from Vanderbilt, Tyler Nickel, who is being a late second round pick, but he can shoot. He's got a burner. Like he can get red hot from 3. Now he's more of a bench guy and a one-trick pony, but we've seen in this league guys that can hit threes and do it consistently can be very valuable.
Great stuff, dude. I'll just say this. I have to send you the video, and I'll post it as well. So when you watch Brunson play, he does not look fast.
He's not really.
Okay. I saw a video on TikTok where he's in some like open run at some gym taking on people, and you're like, good Lord, where he's just zigzags. He's hitting those shit. He's quicker than you think. I don't think TV gives him justice.
Well, he does a lot of what John Stockton used to do. It's all about angles, right?
Yeah.
You find an angle, you get a quick step on someone, and then if you can get that little angle on them, and then they have to adjust their defensive stance, you can reverse it, take them back, find an open guy. I mean, you and I are old enough to have watched Stockton play, and he dominated with no athleticism. He was just fantastic at knowing how to beat guys to the spot that he wanted to get to. And while Brunson's game is obviously much different, he's much more of a scorer than Stockton ever was. He has some of that to his game where it's like, I can get to the right angles. I know how to set guys up for the next move. And a lot of work goes into that NBA players that have been dominating based on athleticism, skill, and speed don't often have to go to that next level that he's gotten to.
I have met and interviewed DJ Augustine, where he's as tall as you or me. And you're like, and I would ask him, like, how do you even do this? How do you even play in the NBA? You have to be stocky. You got to be big. Like, even though you're not tall. The other one was Jameer Nelson, another guy like that. You can't believe it when you see it in person. And then you see how big these other guys are on the court.
I mean, anyone that's like super short and plays at an elite level, they're otherworldly strong and otherworldly athletic. I don't know if you remember this guy. There's a guy that played college ball. I don't think he really ever made the NBA. Drew Lavender, who played point guard for Oklahoma and then Xavier. He was listed on programs as about 5'5". I was shooting a game at Missouri. I mean, I was in college when this happened. So I'm sitting down under the basket. And so I'm shooting for the Jumbotron. And Lavender, while I'm sitting down with the camera, walks past me, and I'm taller than him while I'm sitting down. He was not 5'5". He might have been like 5'1", but he played at a high level at D1. Crazy fast, unbelievably athletic. Those type of guys are absolute freaks. And that's the only way you can play at that kind of level at that size.
The other one, if we're playing this game, when Steve Nash was the coach of the Nets, remember this happened? Mm-hmm. I walked by him post-game news conference. You could tell he like lost his, it's like he got rid of his playing weight, or, he like became a normal human being. You're like, how did you win 2 MVPs? Like, how the hell did that happen? You can't. It's mind-boggling.
Well, that's like the athlete thing, though, right? Athletes after their playing days, when especially the funniest one will always be when offensive linemen end up on broadcast. You're like, oh, because they're not having to like carb load to stay like 300 pounds, and suddenly they're like 220, and you're like, huh? How did you hold up against Reggie White?
I'll just say this. Brunson is awesome. I mean, you think about his story. So Mr. Basketball in the state of Illinois wins a state championship for my cousins all went to the school, Stevenson High School. Then he goes to Villanova, wins the title, 2 of them, 2 titles. Then goes to the NBA. They're like, second round pick. Then remember, Luka gets injured in a playoff series. So Brunson plays big minutes, puts up big numbers. And then Mavericks are like, nah, you could go. We don't need you.
Well, if you remember the Mavericks situation, they offered him a lot of money. Like the Mavericks situation, he wanted to go to New York because his dad was coaching there. Like that wasn't the Mavericks dropping the bag. It's fun to put that there because of the Lucas situation, but the Mavericks offered him like the full money, and he just chose to go to New York.
No, because you know what he decided? He bet on himself. I don't want to watch Luka dribble the ball all day.
I can't disagree with him, but I think Brunson, to me, is the lesson the NBA still doesn't learn. How often are we going to see guys that people go, oh, he came out of nowhere, that if you go back and look, you're like, what do you mean? He won 2 titles in college, was the player of the year in college, out of nowhere. Draymond Green came out of nowhere. What? Just because you didn't take him till the second round doesn't mean he came out of nowhere. Anyone that watched college basketball knew who Draymond Green was. And over and over and over. Look at the Suns just signing Gillespie to that contract, right? No one thought anything of him. But if you watched any college hoops, he was amazing at Villanova. And so I think there is this thing that the NBA does where if you don't fit into the mold they want you to fit into, they don't know what to do with you. And so they'd rather take a risk on someone that didn't produce as much as you because they kind of know what that guy does.
I have a rule. Take a basketball player. I know that's cliche. Don't take a project. Take a guy that wants to play basketball and can play basketball. I know, like, there's a learning curve. We said that at the top.
Yeah.
You know, they got to build themselves up. But, like, you know who could play basketball. Like, come on, man.
Yaxel Lendenborg.
Who remember 06, the Raptors, Bamyani? What was the guy? Like, come on, man.
So Lendenborg just showed us on a national stage that he was one of the best players in college basketball, right? He's older, not nearly as athletic as some of these guys. I think he's being projected 15, 16 right now. Would you be shocked if he's rookie of the year next year? No. He can play, and he's ready-made. Being older, he knows his game. He may not have the ceiling, but right now, he's just as good as any of those guys.
All right, I will end with one more point then. I'm going to say this is my hot take, okay? You already know my thoughts where I don't believe in the NBA draft lottery, okay? I don't know. They give teams like Washington, throw them a bone. They got to be somewhat relevant. No. Zion Williamson is a bust. I don't care. And I like Zion. I had high potential. He showed glimpses. He can't even get to the playoffs. He is a bust.
Most disappointing draft class, him and Ja Morant, right?
Yeah.
Like, all the talent in the world just seems like injuries, off the court stuff have kept both of them from really ever reaching what everyone still looks at and goes is crazy potential. And it's just never going to get there.
The NBA should be like, trade him out of New Orleans. We'll give you whatever you want. Put him on. He needs another team. He needs it. Like, come on.
I mean, the other thing with this draft, though, right, is the worst storyline in sports that we're all tired of. The disclosure day, if you will, of the NBA draft. Where's Giannis going to go? I'm so tired of the story. Is this like year 3 of this thing that where's Giannis going to go? At this point, either trade him or don't. I'm just tired of it.
I agree with you. All right, here's what we'll do. I'm going to wrap this up. Come back on. We have more movies to watch, and then we're going to do our mega movie review of everything.
Okay, yeah.
We need 45 minutes on disclosure day. Okay, let's do that later in the week. Hey,
right.
Enjoy the draft. I'll talk to you later, all right?
All right, see you, man.